You look extremely cool right now.
Right? Photo off time. Photo off time. Yo, Brent, why is your wok on fire?
Yeah, don't worry about it. We're here in Greenpoint at my friend Eric Ze's Taiwanese restaurant, Wenwen.
Eric described Wenwen as a restaurant based on homesickness. This place is a love letter to Eric's mother, Wen, the dishes he grew up eating, and to his Taiwanese heritage. Today I'll be learning the ins and outs of how to make Wenwen's most popular dishes, like the BDSM chicken, don't worry, it's not what you think, the beef fat chili oil noodles, and a very special one-of-a-kind dish that you can only get here.
Are you sold? Are you entertained?
This is so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm Brent, and this is Brent Meets World.
Where's my chicken?
The day begins with the BDSM chicken, which means brined, deboned, and soy milk. Since this is a labor-intensive process and they have a tiny kitchen, they can only serve 5 of these a day. The first step of the process is to debone the chicken.
All right, let me walk you through, but you're good enough to do a hands-on thing, right?
Why did you give me a cleaver?
The cleaver in the Western style of butchering is like the very fat, thick one that you chop through bone, right?
Right, that's it.
Yeah, the Chinese style cleaver is designed to also chop through bone. As you can see from the back here, it's very thick, so it has girth and has weight. At front, it's actually very thin, so you can do a lot of vegetable work and you can also do thinly sliced protein, etc., etc. So this is designed to be universal. One knife to rule them all.
Where do I start?
First thing we do is chop out the head.
Chop?
Chop.
Okay. Save that. Break the legs.
Break the legs, but we're keeping them attached.
But keep them attached?
Yes.
Sound guy? Where did the idea of this dish come from?
I mean, I knew that we needed to have a sort of centerpiece of a dish for Wenwen before we opened. One day I was like, why aren't people frying whole chickens, you know? I think there's an appeal to a massive piece of protein that is one whole dish. I don't see a lot of people deboning the chicken whole and keeping everything attached to the skin. I think most of the deboning chicken that we think of out, like conventionally, it's separating the legs from the body and then separating the breast, keeping the rib cage, etc., etc. But this is completely different because we're essentially having the whole skin attached to the entire carcass of the body, but just the flesh, no bones.
It's different than a traditional conventional chicken. There is a ton of extra fat in here that you're kind of not used to seeing on the inside of the bird. Like it looks amazing, but I do feel a little blind. Real talk, how do you think I'm doing?
I think you're good, you know?
Yeah? Am I missing anything?
A lot of incisions where there shouldn't be, but you know, who am I to judge the master butcher? The beautiful thing is after we dredge it and fry it, you can't really see the incisions.
Okay.
If anything, it makes it a little bit more flavorful. You're creating nooks and crannies.
Oh
for the
yeah,
marinade to
that
go.
was it's totally intentional.
Yes.
Is this really how you're doing your chickens every day?
No, we use the boning knife. But we're not trying to challenge our cooks every day, right?
Okay.
But you need a challenge every now and then.
Thank you.
Life's too good.
Yeah, life's too good for Brent.
So a good judge of whether or not we're keeping this chicken is how much skin did we break. So technically this is okay, because this is extra fat that we're gonna trim, and it's presented like this.
So you can say that one more time?
Yeah.
So it actually looks really good, is what you said? Wow, this is one of the better chickens I've ever seen.
It looks presentable.
What you said?
It looks presentable.
Since I passed the butchery test, we are now finished with the D part of the BDSM chicken. We're on to the soy milk brine, or the remaining letters of our BDSM experience.
So this is essentially our core marinade. Most of the flavor is coming from this guy, is furu.
Okay, what's furu?
It's fermented soybean that's sort of pressed into a tofu shape. It's extra funky, very fermented, incredibly savory. I want the furu to sort of be the star in terms of the flavor, but everything else needs to complement it because the furu itself is very, very pungent. So we want to bring out the funkiness and the essence of it without having it overpower everything else. It looks like blocks of tofu,
Right.
but it's just soybeans pressed into that shape.
It's delicious, but I see what you mean that we gotta round those edges out.
Yeah. So we add in a pretty liberal amount of furu, but as you know, it's a little goes a long way. Yeah? And then we have a little curry powder, mostly for color, but also for flavor. Important, this is unsalted Chinese rice wine. So vinegar, a little bit of soy sauce here. And last but not least, just to sort of emphasize the flavor of soybeans, we add soy milk. Beautiful bird, delicious marinade. And we just let that soak and sit for 2 nights minimum.
So do you reserve these? How do I get one of these?
It's first come, first serve.
Okay.
Yeah.
How quickly do they sell out?
On a slower weekday, maybe like 30 minutes.
Okay.
On a weekend, like 5 minutes.
Go.
Yeah.
These birds are done. The last step in the process is making a batter, which they will go in right before service. Our BDSM journey is over. And now, executive chef Kathy Chen is preparing the beef fat chili oil noodle, which just so happens to be the most popular item on the entire menu.
Okay, so where do we start?
This is a boneless short rib.
Okay.
You're gonna trim the fat, and then you're gonna portion it.
Great. With a cleaver again?
Yeah, but there's no bones, so
Okay.
it's far, far, far simpler. We portion it, it's not as simple as just kind of like slice it into blocks. We
Okay.
are gonna kind of open it up so that it's more of like a flat steak.
Okay.
Yeah, and then a lot of this fat that we're taking off, that actually will get rendered into the beef fat for the beef fat chili oil. This is actually our most popular share dish. 90% of our tables are getting this dish.
Why?
Yeah. It's hard to beat.
You kind of can't beat
It's hard
steak
to
and
beat.
chili oil.
Yeah,
All right, we good to go?
I think these are great. These are beautiful. Now we just marinate them.
All right.
All right. So we're making a miso baijiu chrysanthemum marinade. So this is baijiu. This is Taiwanese and Chinese hard liquor. It's distilled from sorghum. It can be pleasant. I would not say this is the most pleasant one to drink. It's still good. It's actually, and it's also really, really great to cook with. But honestly, it's still pretty fun to drink. So if you'd like to join me at 12:30.
We're cooking, we gotta know.
Cheers.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Easy.
Easy.
The brine here is actually pretty simple. We've got chrysanthemum, miso, white pepper, sesame oil, and of course our early morning pick-me-up, that incredibly strong baijiu. This needs to sit for at least 2 days before it's ready to take on the steaks.
So this is our marinade that has sat. You'll taste a lot more of the chrysanthemum than you will in that one because it's fresh. And this one will be a lot sweeter and a lot less like baijiu forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
Still baijiu forward, but like sweet and baijiu forward. Yeah, just take it, do a little dip.
Do a
take it
little
out.
dip.
Yeah.
The next part of the process is to prepare and render the beef fat.
This is beef fat.
This is beef fat?
We get it from you, I'm told.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So maybe you tell us about the beef fat.
I mean, this is just beef suet, which is kidney fat that we run through the grinder once to get it in this super cool shape, which just helps it cook a little faster.
We're gonna add back in our trim. Pieces of beef are gonna give it extra flavor, and then the beef fat will give it just some extra fat.
There you go.
Yeah.
This beef fat will cook until it's completely rendered down. Once it's ready, we will then transform the fat into the chili oil.
This is Sichuan dried chili.
Okay.
This is gonna add, all the spice, garlic. We keep them whole so they won't burn. And then a variety of spices. Bay leaf, cardamom, fennel, coriander.
This recipe is kind of based off of hot pot. So in China, when they eat hot pot, the spicy pot is most often done with tallow. So that's how they repurpose all the fat from the cows in China. Most of the popular hot pot in China are tallow based.
So we'll throw it in the oven, it'll cook slowly, and then afterwards we'll pull it out and we'll blend it.
All right. Now we're gonna make the pork belly and cuttlefish.
Okay.
This dish I ate growing up at home because my mom used to make it. I've not seen it anywhere else. It kind of is a melody of all these different cuisines within the big Chinese cuisine diaspora. To me, it's the quintessential braised pork dish. Oh, this is a beautiful piece of pork. This knife I got in Taiwan.
Okay.
It is a 杀猪刀, which in Mandarin translates to pig killing knife. It's crazy heavy. Carbon steel is a nice patina. It's for pigs and tuna. If you think about those two animals, very thick skin.
Right.
That you gotta really be able to cut through. Well, I guess first thing we gotta do is take off the nipples, right? Nothing wrong with the nipples. People tend to not
They're
like to see it.
unmistakably nipply.
You wanna use this knife?
I do. I really
Yeah.
want to use this knife.
So just feel how differently it cuts through pork skin.
Kind of like butter, but you really know you're cutting meat.
It's got a weird curvature to it, not weird, a very intentional curvature to it.
No, I was gonna say super intentional. Like that
Yeah.
was extremely easy.
All we gotta do now, cut it into about like 1.5 inch thick cubes.
So this is something that you grew up with.
Yes.
So when would your mom make this dish?
It's mostly for Lunar New Year.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a very festive dish.
Okay.
It takes a very long time to cook, and it's a lot of steps, especially for a home cook. So she's not out here making it every single night for me. You know?
Right.
But every time she would make it, it would just be my favorite thing ever. Okay, the next thing is the cuttlefish. And the cuttlefish really is just like squid on steroids. But when you're cooking squid, it's mostly a very quick cook, right? Either you're frying it for calamari in your sauce quickly. Overcooked squid is rubbery and kind of gross.
Right.
Think about that overcooked squid, but imagine it tender.
The main takeaway here for the cuttlefish is that you want to discard the beak. It's cartilage, it's tough, and you don't want to bite into something crunchy when you're not expecting it. Once these are broken down, we have to fry the pork before it gets cooked off in the wok.
Regular fryer, regular oil.
So this is really just to make sure that they hold their shape?
You know when you're braising like a pot roast or a beef bourguignon, you're always searing your beef beforehand?
Right.
Same idea.
The quick fry gives the pork enough stability to hold its shape before it's slowly braised in the wok. To establish the glaze, the pork is cooked in 3 sugars: palm sugar, rock sugar, and black sugar.
And this is where you really want to be careful because black sugar comes in powder form, so it burns way faster. So we have about like a 5-second window on even the slowest heat to pour in our water to cool down the sugars.
And how long are we letting this go?
So we're gonna reduce it by about 1/3 before adding our pork belly.
Okay. That looks amazing.
Right? Just like this, straight up. Looks like candy bacon.
Yeah.
Another key ingredient, Croix del wine. I wonder if it flames up. There we go. So this just helps burn out the alcohol quicker, and it makes you look more badass.
Definitely.
All right, we're gonna let this go for an hour. Very slow heat. Doesn't even really need a lid. So we have our chicken, we tried it, and then we've got it in this batter that we made. Pick it up by the feet and then lay it in. You want maximum batter. And we do a timer for 3 minutes, so 3:28, we take it out. We fry it here, and we have to slice it all the way over there because there's no space to slice it. That's why we can only do 5.
Lucky 5.
The people on the internet who are like, oh, they definitely got some extra chickens back there. We don't.
We don't. Look around.
We just don't. So I'm going to lift this over our barrier. Now it rests.
The chicken will rest briefly before going back in the fryer one more time. Once it's out, it gets lightly dusted in what Eric calls Taiwanese seasoning. It's then sliced and ready to be plated.
Our steak, marinated for 2 days, sous vide for a minimum of 4 hours, so to make sure that we break down any of the fat, make sure that's really soft. And now we're just gonna give it a little fry.
Usually a steak's getting cooked in a cast iron skillet or on a grill.
If you take a look around, you will notice we don't have a grill.
Noticed?
We don't even have like a regular 4-top burner or anything like that.
Right.
So we make do with what we have, and what we have is these 2 very lovely woks. So because it's sous vide, it's already like fully cooked. We're gonna heat it up and we're gonna develop a very nice crust on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That looks amazing.
And that's how you like want a steak to look. You know, you want a fully formed crust all around.
So what we have here is the BDSM chicken, the beef fat chili oil noodle, and pork belly and cuttlefish. All of this is amazing, and it's all really celebratory. This BDSM chicken has really been hyped up, so we're gonna start there. Get here early, it's worth the wait, that's worth the hype. This is some fantastic fried chicken. Most fried chicken that you're getting is like conventional chicken. Okay, the breading's really good, or it's really crispy on the outside, that's great. But this really tastes like chicken, and you can taste how superior it really is. Next, we have our beef fat chili oil noodle. First, I just want to try this steak. We said before, this is boneless short rib. Boneless short rib really isn't a steak. It's something that you like braise for a long time, which they did with the sous vide, but this eats like a even more tender New York strip steak. It's fatty, delicious, and that wok sear is kind of insane. The baijiu really does cook off and there is a nice floralness because of the chrysanthemums. Wow, that's awesome. All right, so this pork belly and cuttlefish, remember, is only served here at Wenwen. This is the only place you can get it in New York City. It's hard to beat big chunks of fried pork belly. All of the caramelized sugars in that cooking wine really help make it tender, delicious. This is like really one of a kind. It's super special. The cuttlefish, that's so good because it's so specific, and the two of these proteins really complement one another. Like Eric said, cuttlefish, it's like squid on steroids. It really is. It's got a nice bounce to it, but it's toothsome, really takes to the braise really well, and it kind of balances out the fattiness of the pork itself. So my tips would be come with some friends, come with family, bring a bunch of people, and share a lot of this food. It's all really celebratory, and you want to try all of it. Come early, get the BDSM chicken, and for everything else, you know, order big so you can share a lot. And don't skip this pork and cuttlefish. This is chef's childhood in a bowl. Both the pork belly and the cuttlefish complement each other really, really well. It's really special, and it means a lot to this restaurant. Did you get that?